Welcome back to the Stash. Today we're going to look at the Amazing Spider-Man issue 27, and there's another fail for Zeb Wells within this title. And is anyone surprised? Because I'm not surprised. But first we're going to go through the story, and then after that we're going to dive into my thoughts. So this issue starts with Black Cat and a very tense Spider-Man on the prowl of the city, and we can see attempts of Felicia telling him to have fun. However, Spider-Man is in no mood for fun and wants to get Shocker taken down as quick as possible. Then we learned the reason why Shocker was there was from a tip, and it was an entire setup from Black Cat, all in an attempt for Spider-Man to have some fun. This obviously angers Shocker as well, and he tries to kill the Black Cat. Spider-Man, in a pit of rage, knocks out Shocker with one punch, shouting nobody's killing anyone. He then tells Black Cat that this isn't a game, people get hurt. People like Miss Marvel, the person who he wasn't even friends with before like 2 issues ago, I guess. Our scene changes to Oscorp as we see Norman Osborn reminiscing on the past deaths lately. The main one being Ashley Kafka, who was the Queen Goblin. I'm not even going to bother with why I hate her being the Queen Goblin. Then we see that Norman Osborn got off the hook for the death of the Queen Goblin, even though he believes that he was responsible for it. And then, for what's probably one of the worst pages I've seen in Spider-Man comics, he goes back to his apartment and then sleeps next to Miss Marvel's mask. Why all of a sudden is Spider-Man so obsessed with Miss Marvel? He didn't even mourn this much when Ben Reilly died in the 90s. And now for some reason his new sense of responsibility is for Miss Marvel, saying that he will keep fighting the good fight for her. I swear to God, you didn't even care about Miss Marvel, like, before this whole series forced her into your life. And to keep the masks as well, like, that's just simply creepy. That's weird as. But then it is, the next page is Doc Ock finding his original technicals and saying that he's got a surprise for them, as he then proceeds to electrocute them because they betrayed him or some shit like that. No one really cares anymore. Then, in a demonstration of power, he then puts on his new tentacles and then proceeds to try to destroy his original ones. Then, for me, what is personally even weirder than the Miss Marvel stuff, we see Norman Osborn feeling guilty about the death of, everyone that he's sort of been responsible for. And then Peter goes there to comfort Norman Osborn. Norman then promises that he'll never become the Goblin again, and Peter actually believes him. For some reason, I guess. Then we change scenes to Ravencroft Institute, which is looking more like Arkham Asylum each time I see it. And after the Goblin Queen presumably died, they were supposed to cremate her. However, that was what it was officially reported. Unofficially, she was still alive. So basically, some of the people at Ravencroft wanted to do some research on the body, saying this is like a lifetime chance. And then he was proceeding to call him a dipshit as he gets his throat basically sliced and he gets thrown across the room. Who is the dipshit now? Why would you keep someone like that it just doesn't make sense. It really doesn't. Then the books with the epic cliffhanger of Jameson opening his front door to see the battered original tentacles from Doc Ock wanting help. Wow, what a strong way to finish such a strong issue, am I right, guys? And just before I get into my thoughts, I wanted to show you guys the amazing Spider Mail, because finally there's someone that doesn't sound like a robot sending in a letter. That is right, ladies and gentlemen. For the first time, I think, ever in this series, they have shown a somewhat, not a fully negative, but a somewhat negative letter. And by negative letter, I mean this person actually just has a brain. So Zach from Georgia basically calls out that a lot of these letters feel manufactured. Only for the worst bullpen in Marvel history to reply with, "Thanks for writing and sharing your thoughts, Zach. I'm pretty sure we've run negative letters during this run, but I don't really have time to crunch the numbers on that." Yeah, I wonder why. But there are a few things I want to respond to. First, we get positive letters and we get negative letters. We run letters that we find interesting or compelling. Yeah, right. Are we biased? Sure, we're people. But we don't manufacture any letters, and I don't love that you're calling legitimate letters that we get butt kissing. Well, I'm sorry, Marvel Bullpen, but that is definitely what it sounds like to me, considering it's universally hated. However, you managed to find a small group of people that continuously love your work, which I really doubt they're real. Anyway, they continue with, "To be honest, we get more negative letters when I answer people on Twitter than after an issue comes out, which tends to make me think that they aren't from people reading the book as much." How dense can you be? How blind can you be? You get so much legitimate criticism of this book and you just dismiss it with a wave of your hand, saying, "Oh, well, they don't read the book because it's an angry tweet from Twitter." No wonder this book is never going to improve when they have this sort of mentality. But enough of that, I'm going to go over what I believe are the good points of this book and the many bad points of this book. So the good news is that there is no Paul. That is all the good news. There's no Paul. So, congratulations, Marvel. And the bad news is, well, the Queen Goblin is back. A character that no one really cared for and is just there for a stupid plot device. Another bad point I have is, why is Peter grieving Kamala so much? He barely even knew her. I mean, what I think of Miss Marvel, or the new Miss Marvel and Miles Morales, is completely irrelevant. But even I know that Miles was more of a friend to Kamala than Peter is. So it's weird that he's not even mentioned in this book. And why is Peter, like, best friends with the dude who murdered his girlfriend, faked his aunt's death, cloned him, like, how many times now? Is the reason MJ had a miscarriage, abused his best friend, took over New Asgard, attacked the Avengers, and a hell of a lot more. What? This doesn't make sense. And I thought that the art for majority of this book was okay at best, but my god, this artist cannot draw Doc Ock to save his life. I've always been more of a person that liked Mark Bagley's Doc Ock design in the 90s with the nice white suit, and this is just like nothing like that, nothing like the 60s, nothing like the 70s. It just looks horrible. Also, does Ock have his new cryptocurrency now? But man, I just hate this run so much. There's nothing remotely interesting going on here. Everyone's acting out of character, and Peter being all buddy-buddy with Norman is just pure stupidity. I don't care that he's a good guy now. We all know that's probably not even going to last, and like in the next 5 issues he's going to turn to the Green Goblin again. But Peter is treating Norman better than he's treating his own girlfriend right now. And also, like I said many times before, him keeping Miss Marvel's mask instead of passing it on to her family or friends is just so weird. I mean, he barely even knew her, and this book feels like it was written by a 12-year-old that searched up the word grief in a dictionary. And speaking of Black Cat, why did Wells even put her and Peter in a relationship in the first place? Because it seems like Peter can barely even tolerate her presence. It's like even Peter knows that he should be with Mary Jane. That's a weird thought. And Felicia has been acting so out of character, like she isn't even the same person anymore. The relationship is going to do a disservice to both the characters and all of their fans. And even though the kids weren't really MJ and Paul's kids, she still basically adopted them. Meaning that MJ literally just lost children for the 3rd time in her life, and we don't even get a check-in on her. Like, so, were they only used as plot devices? Someone needs to put this run out of its misery and get a whole new writing and editing team on the job as soon as possible. But that is it for today. If you have enjoyed, please like, comment, and subscribe, because here, any support means so much, and we recently just hit 400 subscribers, and I can't thank you guys enough. That's incredible. Thank you so much. I would like to know what you guys think of this book down below. We can start a conversation, and as you can tell from what I've been saying for the past, 8 minutes now? I clearly don't like this book at all, and I think not many people really do. But thank you guys for watching, and see you in the next one.